Okay, for this chapter 05, you can download from the e-class. And then for this folder, which contain all the files of Python, you can open the project. So in the PyCharm, you can click the project and then you can right click and then you can open the folder. Let's say now I would like to open the folder in the Explorer. You can open the project in the Explorer, and then this is the project that you are going to use. And yeah, you can include the additional chapter. So in my case, I have the chapter 05 here. Okay, after you extract this one, you can copy and put here. So there will be a new folder, chapter 05. And then if you see in your PyCharm, it will be updated, and you can see that all Python files will be in this section. Okay, let me stop. So functions. We will learn about function without written values, and then we will learn about functions with written values, and we will learn about some kind of variables. It is local variables and global variables. In some of the literatures, they mention as methods, but many books they mention this is function. So you know already about loop. Okay. The syntax is for, and then we have a variable that we want to use in. In is a syntax to indicate what is the range of this variable. So if I specify range is between 1 until 10, then it will be a loop from 1 until 9. If I specify the range is from 20 until 37, then it will be a loop from 20 until 36. So if I specify range from 35 until 49, then it will be a number from 35 until 48. Okay? So we know it's always n minus 1. So I have 3 statements like this. Sum equals to 0. And then I do for I in range 1, 10. Sum plus equal I. And I want to print the summation from 1 until 10 is sum. Okay. Now let's see in the other statement. I have another sum equals to 0. And then I in range 20 until 37. Sum plus equal I. And then I want to check the summation from 20 until 37. The third one, it's also have the same structure. The structure is similar, but the numbers are different. So if you can look at this structure, okay, those 3 structures are the same. The only difference is the number, the number, the number. Shall we make like this one for many times? Yes, of course, you can make this many times, but it will be a tedious job, like what you saw before, miles and kilometer. You can copy and paste as many as you want, but it is not the programming. So if you want to make a good program, then the solution is we can make a function. So we call this is a function, and this function, we call it this is the function of summation. And then we declare the two numbers, and let's assume we want to show the result. So we will do the range of the for loop from the I1 and from the I2, and then we will do again the process result plus equal. So when you do this one, then you can make just one simple statement. You can call summation. You can call summation according to the name. You can call another summation according to the name. You can call another summation according to this name. And then you can just call the main function. So we will learn this thing in this chapter, how we can make this function. First, we need to define the function. How can we define the function? So a function is a collection of statements. So in one function, there will be many statements. So the statements, they are grouped together to perform an operation. Okay, we have this function. For every function, it will be started with def. Def means def, define of the function. And there should be a function name. So the function name can be anything. And there should be a parameter. We need to end with the colon. And there will be the function body. At the end, we can give return value, or we can just skip the return value. This is to define a function. And we need to invoke a function. It means we need to execute the function. How to execute the function is to call the function name, and we need to give the actual parameters, or we call it, this is argument. So let's look at the detail. A function contains a header and body. So we call this is function header. The header begins with the def keyword, and followed by function name and parameters. So this is the function name. This is the parameter. So at least there will be three kind of information in the function: def, function name, and parameter. And at the end, we will follow it the column. Column is this one, column. Parameters. We call this is parameters. This is the formal parameters. So we can make the formal parameters, or we can just make a function without parameters. If it is without parameters, then we don't need this kind of numbers. When a function is invoked, you pass a value to the parameter. So when you invoke this function, then it will pass the value here. This value refers to the actual parameter or argument. So this value is the actual parameter for this input. And there will be a return value. So this return value means if I call this function, then it should show a result. And what is the result? Yeah, we need to define the result. So let's see. I give you the test max. We have the function maximum. How do we know that it is a function? Because we have def. Okay, this is a function. And then I have the function name maximum, and I have the parameter. So I can say def is the function statement in Python, and then max is the function name, and then num1, num2 are the parameters. Okay. In this statement, I guess you know already how to do with if and else. If num1 is greater than num2, then result equals to num1. I can say that if number 1 is higher than number 2, then show the result, show the maximum is number 1. Otherwise, or else, the result will be number 2. So it means the maximum will be number 2. So this function will be checking two numbers. So we have two input, which is number 1 and number 2. And I want to check which one is the higher. And after that, I would like to return the function. Now I will create a main function. So this is also a function. How do we know that it is a function? Because we have def. Okay, def is the function statement, and then main is the function name, and then there is no parameter. Why no parameter? Here is blank. Okay. Inside of the parenthesis is blank, so we have no parameter. In this case, we have two parameters. So there will be a function with one parameter. You can have also function with 3 parameters. So it depends on your requirement. It depends on your functions. So if I run this one, okay, I make the column. Now I give the statement I equals to 5 and j equals to 2. And then I would like to assign k. K is a variable, and this variable equals to the maximum I comma j. What does it mean? I want to call the function maximum. The function maximum is here, and I give the actual value. I will be the number 1 and j will be the number 2. So I will check if I call this function, then I will do this statement. So num now equals to I. Num2 now equals to j. So we will do here. Num1 is greater than num2. Num1 is I. Num2 is j. So it means 5 and 2. 5 is greater than 2. Yes. Then result equals to num1. So result equals to 5. We will return 5, and 5 will be assigned to k. Then you will show this one, the maximum between I and j. I is 5 and j is 2 is k. So k will show you 5. And at the end, we call the main function. So this is the step by step of the code. So we can see this is the animation. We will start the main function. So input the main function, and then in the main function, I will be 5 now, and then j will be 2, and then we will check the max I comma j. The max I comma j means I will do this function. I will do this function. Now it shows that the value of I will be passed to num1 and the value of j will be passed to num2. So the function here, if num1 greater than num2, it will check if the num1, which is I, is greater than num2, which is j. Because it is true, then the result is now 5. Then we will check, we will get the result 5, and 5 will be assigned to the k. And at the end, we will print the maximum between I and j is k. So the last one, it will return back to the color. We call the color is the main statement. So there are some things that we need to understand how the function runs in Python. We call it, this is called call stack. The call stack means whenever I run a function, there will be a kind of object determined in the computer. So the function will create like this one. The I will be in one object in the computer, and the j will be in another object. And after we run the maximum, so the I and j, it will be assigned to num1 and num2, and this variable will go to that object. So these two objects will be always the same until you assign to all other different variables, because we already make at first time. So why we need to understand this one? Because at the end, this object will be different way if you assign to another kind of variables. So the function for in this case we have j and we have I. It is only a variable or a single variable. So it will create two objects. And after the assignment of the k to this object, so when the main function is finished, so the stack will be empty. So it will be only in the stack during the process. So I would like to show you how if we have function without return values. So you can see this example, print create function and return create function. Print create function. So I guess you know how to read this function. The function is to print the grade, and we have one parameter. If score is higher than or equal to 90, then print A. And if the score is higher than equal to 80, print B. And if the score is higher than equal to 70, print C. And so on until we have F. The main function will get the score. What is the score? So I will give the input and I will print the output. The grade is, I would like to show in the same line. What I want to show is the print grade score. What is print grade? If you go to this function and then if you put your mouse and then you press Control, okay? When you press Control, you can click and then you can go to the function. One more time. If you go move your cursor and then you use the Control. If you use the Control, then you will go to this function. And then there is one parameter. In this case, we use the score as the input. Now, if you run this, enter a score. So if the score is 85, then the grade is B. The grade is from this statement, and then we can get B because we call the function print grade, and then score, which is 85, it will be in this parameter. And then it will check 85. 85 is higher than 90? No. Then we go to here. 85 is higher than equal to 80? Yes. So we print B. So the last one is just to call the main function. Now the second example, I use return function. So I use the return statement. What is the difference? In the first statement, whenever it is true, so I will print. In the second statement, whenever it is true, it will return. So return means I will give this value whenever you call this function. So if I call the get grade and then I give the parameter which is score, let's say 85, so it will show you 8 if the score is higher than equal to 90, and it will be showing directly here. So you don't need to put the you don't need to put like this one. If it is written with this value, you can assign to a variable. Let's say I want to assign grade. So the grade will be get grade, and then I give the score, and I change this one to grade. So I can use that variable for the result. So let's say enter the score. I enter 75. Then the grade is C. So this statement is the same. The same with when you put this one. Print the grid is something like this. So you can assign this into a variable. But for this print, you cannot assign to a variable. Let's see. I want to have grid. Print grid. Enter score 75. What happened? The grade is no. Why? Why grade is no? If you have written function, then you can assign this value into a variable. But if you just print, you just print. This is just to show the result, not assigning the value. So if you just print, then this will not work. Okay, there will be no value on the variable grid because you want to print, not return. So the non-value, okay, what does it mean by the non-value? A function that does not return a value is known as a void function. So in other programming languages, let's say C++, C#, okay, there's a special function for that one. We call it the void function. Not Python, actually Java. Okay, Java, C++, C#, we have the void function. The void function is a function without return value. But in Python, they simplify the function. So if you want to do like this one, sum number 1, comma number 2. So the total will be the number 1 plus number 2. When you print this one, what happens? None? Are you sure? Yes. That's it. Okay, I want to print. Okay, if you look at this one, the total will be number 1 plus number 2. So if I have a sum 1, 2, then 1 will be assigned to number 1 and 2 will be assigned to number 2. So I hope that the total will show 3. If I run this, it will be none because there is no return. If you put return total, then it will show 3. Okay, that's the meaning by return. Now, let's see some other examples. Suppose you invoke the function using n print line like this. welcome to Python, comma 5. What is the output? We have the string, and then 5 is the end. Then it will be a loop from 0 until 5. So it means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there will be 5 times, and we are going to print the message. So I'm going to see welcome to Python for 5 times. So if I put this one and print line computer science, comma 50, then I will see computer science for 15 times. Now, if I have this question and print line, and then I put for the first parameter, and then I put computer science as the second parameter. What is wrong? What is wrong with this one? Prints. Okay, that's good. String cannot be in the prints. So we can look at the result. I have this one. Okay, and then I want to print for, comma, computer programming, for example. Then it will be errors, because in the range it should be an integer. Range should have integer, yeah, all should be in integer. If it is a string, so there will be an error message, string object cannot be interpreted as an integer. Now, there will be a kind of keyword argument. What is the keyword argument? If I have this function, and then, yeah, I know that it does not know. But if I give the keyword n equals to 4 and message equal to computer science, is it okay? No? Yes? N should be here. Message, it can be here. Yes. Is it okay or not? Okay, let's check. So I will put n equals to 4, and then I will put message equal to computer programming. So it's the same with the parameter here, but the only difference is the order. So it works, because this is the keyword argument. As long as you give the argument the same with the name that you define in the function, as long as you put this argument the same with this one, then Python will understand. Okay? Even though you put in the wrong sequence. Okay, please check this one. So if you do it this one, it is wrong, because the sequence is not correct. If you do it this one, even though the sequence is not correct, but we have the keyword argument. So it can be done with this function. Now, let's see another example. We want to pass by value. So in Python, all data are objects. A variable for an object is actually a reference to object. When you invoke a function with a parameter, the reference value of this argument is passed to the parameter. This is referred to as pass by value. For simplicity, we say that the value of an argument is passed to a parameter when we invoke a function. Precisely, the value is actually a reference value to the object. Okay, so let's see. So if the argument is a number or string, the argument is not affected, regardless of the changes made to the parameter inside of the function. Okay, let's see the increment. So what I want to mention here is like this. We have the main function and we have the increment function. In the main function, I start the x equals to 1. So before I call the x, I want to see the x. And then after I call the x, after I call the function increment x, so again, I want to know what is the value of x. Do you think the value of x will change? Let's see the increment. What is increment? The increment is n plus equal 1. So it means n equals to n plus 1. So the value of n will be added by 1. What is n? N is from this variable. So if you put x equal to 1 here, so it means 1 will be added by 1, then n will be 2. Okay. So if n is 2, after we finish this statement, what is x? Is it 2 or is it still 1? 1? Are you sure? Yeah. If you try, it is still 1. After I print this one n, the x will be still 1. Because this is only the variable in this function. And this is another function. Okay. Now, my question is, what is /t? Indentation. Okay, thank you. So it shows some tabulation. Okay, we call it tabulation. So whenever you do with your Gurum, okay, please understand this one, because Gurum is very sensitive with the indentation. So I saw some of you has the error of indentation. Indentation. Okay. When you make this kind of function, there will be a lot of possible errors about indentation. So I will give you later another kind of assignment so you can practice at home. If you have this error indentation, you need to go back and then make a good indentation, so the code will run properly. In this case, we want to put some tabulation. So the tabulation means there will be like 4 space. So this is the standard in Python. There will be 4 space, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you have another t slash t, so there will be another 4 indentation. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's the meaning by slash t. We can make subcode about the modular, because this is modularizing code. So function can be used to reduce redundant coding and enable code reuse. So you can reuse some functions more and more. And functions can also be used to modularize code and improve the quality of the program. Let's see the GCD function. The GCD function. So the GCD function, it is the greatest common divisor. Wait, I forgot. Did I mention this one before? That's the GCD function. Okay, so let's look at this code. So this GCD function is separated from another main function. Okay. So I have the GCD equals to 1, and the possible GCD, we call it the GCD, greatest common divisors. So let's say if I have two numbers, I have maybe 8 and 12. The greatest common divisors is 4. Right? Eight, it can be divided by 1. Okay. It can be divided by 2. It can be divided by 4. What about 12? 12, it can be divided by 1. It can be divided by 2. It can be divided by 3. It can be divided by 4. It can be divided by 6. But the greatest common divisors between 8 and 12 is 4. So we want to find what is the common divisors for the two numbers. Because the greatest common divisor is 4, then we will show the result is 4. So the way to do the calculation is something like this one. While k is less than equals to n1, and while k is less than to n2. And then we want to check if n1 remainder k is 0 and n2 remainder k is 0. So here, if it is divided by 4, it is 0, and if 12 divided by 4, it is 0. If they are both 0, then the greatest common divisor equals to k. If not, then let's put one more value to the k. After we finish this loop, then we will return the greatest common divisor, GCD. So here, is a function of the greatest common divisor, and we can test. How can we test? So the testing will be using the from. I would like to use the GCD function. What is the GCD function? This is the function that I just created. This is the GCD function. So I would like to import it from GCD function, and what I want to import is the function GCD. What is function GCD? This is the function name, and I would like to get the user input N1, the input N1, and then the other input as N2, and then I will do this print. This print means I would like to get the greatest common divisor for N1 and N2, and now I am going to call the GCD. So where is GCD? GCD is in this file, GCD function. So I will call this function using this statement. Okay. Now let me run test GCD. So enter the first integer, let's say for 8, and then let's enter the second integer, 12. Okay, the greatest common divisor for 8 and 12 is 4. Okay. Prime number function. If you still remember, last time we have the prime number. We can make the function like this one. Okay, so now the example is getting more complex. So please try to understand and please try to practice. So is prime is a function. And then we know that a prime number is a number that can be divided by 1 and its own number. So there will be a problem. Divisor start from 2, and if the divisor is less than or equal to the number less than 2, we will check. If the number remainder divisor is 0, then if it is true, it is not prime, or return false. And then division will be added by 1 until this condition not true. So if it is written by true, then it is prime. And then I think last time we have this example. We want to print 15 numbers, and we want to print for every line 10 numbers. So the count will start from 0, and then the number, it will be tested from 2. So while the count is less than the number of primes is the indicator here. So I will check is prime. So is prime is the function name is prime. So instead of I put all those statements, I put in different function. So every other function can call this function if it is necessary to find the prime number. The remaining part is the same. If you look at the prime number, this one, in the previous section, you put all the things in one file. But in the function, so we make some category. This is the category to check whether it is a prime number or not. And this is the category or this is the function to check whether the prime numbers are already 50 or not. So if I want to print 50, you can put the number 50 as the argument, or if you want to change this one, let's say I want to print 20. Then you will see only 20 numbers. If I want to show 25, then it will show only 25 numbers. Even though you have the 50 as the indicators, but it will always see the prime numbers according to these parameters. How many numbers you want to display. Okay. I guess I will stop here. Okay.